Welcome to Swish Theory. My name is Chris Amundsen. I'm your co-host, along with Larro Golden. Coach Golden, it's been a fun week to be a Bulls fan. Patrick Williams, streets are saying, you're hearing it more and more. Patrick Williams, that's all I got to say. How you doing, man? What's going on?
Man, I'm all good. Same old. You already know. A lot of work. Watching some Bulls and watching some good basketball. Some exciting basketball from the Bulls. So I'm in a good spot mentally. I'm in a good spot. As a fan, I'm in a good spot overall, man. Can't complain. How about yourself?
Doing well. I was telling you before, but went camping with my son last night. And I got to say, camping's a lot of fun, except for the sleeping part. I continue to not like the sleeping part because I just don't do any of it. It's just really hard to sleep. So not a lot of sleep under my belt right now, but happy to talk some Bulls. It's been a good week. The Bulls are on a 4-game win streak. This week they beat the Hornets and the Spurs, which is not saying a lot given where those two teams are. But I think there's a lot to be encouraged by with the overall team spirit, if you want to say that. They're playing like they got Bulls across their chest, lots of spirit, as Jim Boylan would love. Lots of high assist games. Kobe's just been on a tear, not only shooting, but just his overall game has really been flourishing in Zach's absence. DeMar has become kind of a version that we've wanted him to become a little bit more of a kind of facilitator and kind of letting the other guys cook. And he's really been doing a great job at that. Vooch is playing through the high post. And I don't know, it's been really fun to watch. It seems like the team's got some fight. They've got some joy in the game that they haven't had a lot of this season. So really, really good, a good version of the Bulls right now. And we want to talk about, number one, what's happened here in these games that's led to the winning, or just the kind of the change in dynamics of the team. And then two, how is this performance going to affect the team and the team's direction and AK's decision-making going forward? So let's start with the X's and O's with this. I mean, has anything changed in your mind, Larro, from a scheme standpoint in these, in Zach's absence? Has anything changed scheme-wise for you, or has anything stood out to you?
So I think one of the things that stood out to me about this, Zach LaVine-less team is there's been a lot more movement. And I think sometimes like in basketball and fans of basketball, they can, ball movement is one thing, right? Swing the ball around the perimeter, but you need to marry ball movement with player movement. And that's ultimately what will get a defense to stay honest, and what will get a defense to be not being able to just beat boxes and elbows. Like they actually have to run through screens. They actually have to jump to the ball. They got to do all different types of things that causes, a defense have to communicate. And if they're not very good at communicating, if they're not a team that doesn't do a good job of communicating, you can, backdoor, you can face cut, you can do all different types of things. And I think that's one of the things that stands out to me is not only is it the ball movement, but the player movement is standing out. But also I think there are more actions. So, I think just for Patrick as an example, if you go through like on Synergy and you take a look at, his play style, his play types, you look at the beginning of the year, there's, it's just spot up and pick and roll ball handler once, and then everything else is zeros. And the other ones are isolation, pick and roll man, cut, handoffs, post ups, all of that stuff is zeros, a lot of zeros. And you fast forward to these 4 games, and you got Pat having, he's still getting the spot up shooting, a lot more in transition. He's getting more opportunities as a pick and roll ball handler. The cutting is there. He's attacking the glass more. So like there's been like I think there's been a shift And when you had Zach LaVine, now you got to placate towards two guys that are more isolation based and more pick and roll ball handlers. And I think now when you lose one of those guys in Zach LaVine, now you're kind of you're saying to yourself that you kind of have to get more guys involved. You have to get more touches. And I think that you're starting to see that. There's two actions that I think that you're starting to see a lot more of. And one is a split action. And the Warriors the Warriors made split action like super famous. They've won championships off this action. It was, it's hard, probably, the Draymond Green on the low post, high post, and having Klay Thompson and Steph Curry run split action is nightmare when they were in their prime. And even now, but I think now with the Bulls, there was something I always wanted them to run with Zach LaVine and Kobe White as a screener or Patrick as a screener. And what happens in a split action is when you enter the ball into either the high post or the low post. And for the Bulls, it's usually entering the ball into Vooch. And the passer screens away. He goes and screens away. And what makes it different from like a flare screen is usually a flare screen is a person that passes into the post gets a screen, gets a almost like back screen, and he flares to the opposite wing. Split action is the passer goes to screen, usually towards like a wing, and the person is coming towards the ball. And I think that is something that an action that I think can be used, especially to help guys like a Patrick Williams, to help a guy like even Kobe White or Alex Caruso, helping them when they get that screen to help them get a step ahead to get downhill and apply pressure to the rim. And I think another action that that you're starting to see more from them, and this is, I think you saw it once or twice, not once or twice. I think you saw it some with Zach LaVine when he was still in the lineup, but I think you've been seeing it a lot more. It's Oklahoma action. Oklahoma action is basically it's like a double drag where you get the two screeners setting a screen for the ball. But the first screener is a shooter. So usually it's, if they have Pat bring the ball up, they'll run it. If they have Io bring the ball up, they'll run it. And the first screener will be Kobe White. And then the second screener is usually he could be a screener. A shooter. It doesn't really matter. But basically, it's almost like a screen to screener action, right? So it's a double drag ball screen. First screener is the shooter, and the second screener basically goes to screen for the shooter that pops out. And now that shooter can use it as a pick and roll, or he can use it as a like a back screen and come towards the ball. And I think you're starting to see stuff like that just because when you don't have a guy like Zach LaVine on the floor that can get a bucket, anywhere at any time, you need to find ways to manufacture quality shots and manufacture different types of things towards the basket and trying to get into the paint. And the last thing I'll say is another thing that stands out to me, and I'm sure that Kris, you'll probably be able to see this. I'm sorry, you've felt this way, or you've seen it. And anybody that's watched this Bulls team for a while, you've seen it. The one thing that used to get on my nerves with Zach LaVine is sometimes when he wasn't on the ball and he was actually in an action, it's almost like he half-asses the action, right? He doesn't sprint to the ball. He doesn't sprint to the screen. He doesn't come off the ball screen hard, right? The one thing that I am noticing is when they're running an action, they're running the action. They're sprinting the screens. They're sprinting off the screen. They're doing their action and then instantly spacing the floor, so it's not lagging. They're chaining these things together, these actions together, and I think it's kind of making them harder to guard in a way, because teams don't kind of know what's coming. They don't know if it's going to be a back screen. They don't know if it's going to be a back cut. They don't know if it's going to be split action. They don't know if it's Oklahoma action. They don't know if it's angle, which is only just a ball screen that's on the wing right before the break. And it's like a 45-degree ball screen set at like a 45-degree angle. There's just so many things that they've been doing now, and I think that it's been really cool to see. And I think that it's allowing these young guys to get confidence and feel like they're involved in the game more often, and they're just standing in the corner. And I think you're starting to see the benefits of all this stuff. These young guys are starting to play really, really well.
Well, I think that does it. Thanks for listening to the Switch Theory podcast. Larro, you just laid it out, man. Just laid it out in like 4 minutes here. That was amazing. No, you're totally right. It's crazy. I love a couple things you said. Notes I was kind of taking in my head as you're talking here is, number one, I think Tibbs has said that it doesn't matter what scheme you have set in place. If there's no effort and execution on the scheme, it doesn't matter what scheme you're running, right? Like, so you're talking about the actions that they're running are being done with a lot of effort, high energy, tight execution, good timing. You're seeing more of that. You're seeing more of that a lot. Another thing is, you talked earlier about Patrick Williams getting more cuts to the basket. Casey Johnson actually had a story out in the last day or two. He had a quote that I liked here that he says, Patrick Williams said, "Everybody has a feel now of how to play off each other. I think we're getting that chemistry going. I think backdoor cuts are a direct correlation of chemistry, just locking eyes and kind of knowing." And I bring that up to say, I think a lot of people are like, well, I've been wanting Patrick Williams to do this for years. Like, why hasn't he been doing this? These have always been available to him. But I don't know about you, but when I play pickup, there's certain guys I know are going to see me on backdoor cuts. They're going to hit me. And there's other guys I know that if they got the ball in their hands, doesn't matter what I do, they're not going to pass to me. They're not going to do that. And so that changes what I do, the actions that I run, and how much energy I'm expending on the offensive end, because there's certain guys I know I could back cut all day. I could screen and roll, screen and pop. Doesn't matter. I'm not getting the ball. I'm just going to wait till this guy shoots it. And so, but there's other guys, when you run down the court, you're going to get the ball. And I think having Kobe White more involved in the offense, he has a familiarity with Pat that's really, really high. He's always encouraging Pat. I think DeMar, same kind of thing. You're seeing Pat, as he says in this quote, locking eyes with them. He knows that if he cuts at the right time, that he's going to get that pass. And I don't know about you, but the last 3 or 4 games, I've seen an aggressiveness in Patrick that I haven't seen in a long time, maybe ever in his tenure. He just looks like he's hungry. And I know it's this cliche thing, but it really looks like his energy and aggression level is at a really high level right now. And I think that's contributing with that chemistry, with the additional kind of execution and level of execution that they're running the offense with. It's led to a lot of good things. Now, their offense is still not good. Like, if you look at the actual numbers, the offense is not good. And they've also played, this week, the Hornets and the Spurs, not quality opponents. The Spurs are on like a 14, 15 game losing streak, which is second only to the Hornets, who I think have lost 20 now straight. Not the Hornets, I'm sorry, the Pistons. And the other thing I notice is a lot of this seems like it points back to Zach LaVine, and I kind of want to dig into that a little bit more, because I don't think this is necessarily a Zach LaVine specific issue. It's, and I want to kind of flesh this out a bit. Zach LaVine is an extremely good offensive player. As you said, he can get a bucket. He is a good on-ball player. I think he's an elite off-ball player. The problem has always been that Zach has fancied himself the number one guy on the team, and the Bulls haven't done a good job of putting someone on the team that is clearly the number one to put Zach in his correct role. And so Zach on this team has never had the offensive impact in an off-ball role that we would want him to have. And it doesn't seem like he is bought in as an off-ball player very much. But he still managed to be an extremely efficient offensive player regardless of that fact. This year, however, this current version of Zach LaVine has been detrimental to the team. And I don't know if it's because they're all sick of this kumbaya continuity stuff, or if Zach is, now that it's out there that, Zach is also open to a trade. Maybe that's just kind of the resignation to set in there. But for whatever reason, and maybe it's partly the injury that he suffered, it just hasn't been there for Zach. And so people always ask, are the Bulls better without Zach LaVine? I think they're better right now without this current version of Zach LaVine. I don't think that they're going to be a better team in the long term having Zach LaVine off the roster. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but I just think it does coincide with Zach LaVine being off the floor. Number one, just opens a lot of opportunities for other guys. That's just natural. It's not a Zach LaVine thing. It's just, you lose one of your key focal points on the offense. It's going to have to be by committee to replace him. The offense has not been better from a number standpoint, but it has looked better and has resulted in more wins and more energy, effort, chemistry, what have you. So all that to say, do you agree that the Bulls are, do you think the Bulls are better off with Zach LaVine, or do you think it's more nuanced than that? I want to hear your take on that topic.
Yeah, no, I think it's more nuanced. I think it's really easy. In a way, you almost feel bad for Zach because as soon as he goes out with the foot injury, they go on a win streak, and now it's so easy to just connect that with him, especially after AK said he wanted to see what the team looked like without, that's what the rumor says. He would like to see what a LaVine-less team would look like. And you coincide that with him getting injured and then go on a 4-game winning streak. And then, it's easy to connect that. But I think you hit it on the nose where you said, I don't think they're better without Zach LaVine. I think they're better without Zach LaVine. I'm sorry, without the LaVine that was playing before the injury, which is someone that looked done with the team, someone that looked like they were just trying not to get injured until they got traded, someone that wasn't playing up to his capability. I'll just leave it at that. And now, you add on, when Zach is out right now, you add young guys that have been craving for opportunity, that have been waiting for an opportunity to kind of get consistent touches. And you marry that with a whole bunch of other things. I think that this is what you're getting. But I thought you bring up a great point, though, Chris, about the offense in terms of the stats, overall just not being that good. I just think that they may not be punching out, the best numbers offensively at the moment. But I think that, with the way they're playing defense, because without Zach, most of the time they're going to have 4 pretty good defenders on the floor, sometimes 5. And I think as long as they play defense and as long as they are one of the better teams in the league with turning over other teams and allowing them to get in transition, I think they're going to win. They're going to win more than I shouldn't say like that. I shouldn't say it like that. I'll just say they'll give themselves a better shot to win every single game. When you think about shooting variance and things like that. But in terms of Zach LaVine, I think the easy way out is just to say that he wasn't playing up to his 2-time All-Star, arguably, third, he deserved votes to be an All-NBA guy, that type of player. He wasn't playing up to that capability. And I don't know, obviously we can't sit down and talk to Zach, but I don't know if that has anything to do with, past things, anything that happened in the off season. But it just seemed like he wasn't cutting. He wasn't, he just wasn't being the same Zach. And I think he was more in the way than kind of, being someone that was conducive to winning. I don't know. I could go into X's and O's and things like that, but I don't think that it would mean anything. And I think I think you can leave it at he just wasn't playing up to his ability that we know he has. He wasn't shooting the same type. He wasn't shooting at the same percentages. He wasn't finishing at the rim as good as he usually does. There were just things that he just wasn't playing to his capability.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. And, it's unfortunate, as you said, that this coincides with Zach being out, because that's going to, I think, negatively affect his trade value. It's going to reinforce the narrative that he's not a winning player, which is a ridiculous assertion. Just a ridiculous assertion. It's always about fit and opportunity. Zach is an extremely talented player. He's not as injured as everyone seems to think he is. He's not as bad on defense as everyone seems to think he is. He's not as much of a ball hog as everyone seems to think he is. But those are the narratives that have come with him. And so, ultimately people view him differently than they should have, and view him differently than they would if he had been in a different situation. But here's the situation he's been in. This is what it is. And at this point, the Bulls are going to try and move off of him. I worry about his market at this point based on all of these different kind of factors coming together. It just seems like a huge wasted opportunity. That you could have traded him last off season. It didn't happen. And we've gotten to this point where now it appears that Zach is at his lowest value, and, they're motivated to trade him, and he's now motivated to be traded. So it sounds like it's going to happen, but I'm worried about what's going to come back. You did mention the defense. I want to talk about some of the defense. Number one, as a team. Now, this is for the season. This is not just this little win streak. The Bulls are 6th in deflections per game. They're 1st in total deflections, right? They are 10th in loose balls recovered. They're 10th in screen assist, total screen assists. They're 10th in charges, in total charges drawn charges drawn per game, and 8th in total charges drawn. And I feel like Kobe White and DeMar are like at the top of that list for some reason. They're also number 1 in contested threes per game and total contested threes, which is a really, really, really good sign. And they're also 6th in just total shots contested in general. So some really good, good quality stuff on the defensive end. And I want to bring it back to Patrick, because Cruz has kind of been in and out of the lineup, but Patrick, I think, has really gone under the radar as a really, really good defensive player. And in the beginning of the year, when he was having a really, really cold shooting stretch, we were on this podcast talking about how Pat is actually doing pretty well overall, other than just being a complete tank on the offensive end. But his defense has been really consistently good all season long. And as of today, he's still 90th percentile in blocks and 90th or 84th percentile in steals. He's averaging 1 block and 1 steal a game, which is really, really difficult. And he's doing it in only 25 minutes. Per 36 minutes, he's at 1.5 steals, 1.4 blocks. Just really, really good numbers, and his deflections are up. Like if you watch the game, his defensive activity has been really, really solid across the board this year. As I said, I think off ball, his position has been better as the low man in making rotations. He's gotten better. Early on in his career, I was really worried about him guarding the perimeter. I just thought he was a little bit too slow-footed to guard the perimeter, especially against guys like Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell and, quick guards like that. But I think he's really grown a lot in his perimeter defense, where I think he can survive as a 3 or a 4 on defense, whereas before I was leaning much more toward just 4 only because of his rim protection abilities. I've just been really, really impressed by his defensive activity and effectiveness. He's just been an impact player on the defense. He's 90th percentile in EPM. So he's a top, 40, 45 defender according to EPM right now. So anyways, just really good stuff from Patrick. And I just love the aggressiveness we've seen on offense, because he's doing still a lot of the role player stuff, but he's just kind of getting a shot diet and an offensive diet that's more well-rounded. And he's taking advantage. And as we've seen, almost every time Patrick gets the opportunity to do more on offense, he's taking advantage of it, and he's doing better. So really love this stretch from Patrick. Now, I'm not going to overreact to it, because we saw a really cold stretch in the beginning. I'm not going to overreact to a really good stretch from him. He's had double-digit games, and what was it, like 7 of the last 8, I think it is?
Yeah.
Larry, you had that stat before. He's had 2 20-point games in that stretch. And, his shooting is better, but it's not unsustainable. It's not like crazy hot or anything. So I'm really encouraged by this. And I just want to say one extra thing here. If you, as a fan, have called for him to be traded, have called him a bum, have called him a bust, have said you're done with him, I don't want you to enjoy any of this. I want you to suffer in silence, and you need to repent for all these sins you've committed here against Patrick Williams. I'm just kidding. You can enjoy it too. This is why we're patient. This is why we're being patient. Because Patrick can do these things. It's just a matter, you got to put them together. You got to give him time to do these things. And we're seeing a lot of these things pay off. Short, still a small sample, but really good stuff from Patrick. And then, I'll let you riff on Patrick if you want to add anything to that. And then I also really want to talk about Kobe, because Kobe's been just a joy to watch as well.
I think I agree with everything you just said. I think with Patrick, like you said, I've always been a person with patience in terms of player development, unless there's like just red flag after red flag, then I can see, people being more out on someone, or people being, done with someone, I guess. But I think with guys like Patrick, I think you just need patience. As much as everybody makes fun of he's only this, he's only 22, or he was only 21 at one point. I think that all that stuff matters when you take into account development, and you take into account, the learning curve of the NBA. It's not like playing pickup at your lifetime. It's not like playing any game. It is the top of the top level of basketball, and it takes time for some guys. And who knows? Maybe, I'm not gonna sit here and talk like he's figured it all out. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is you're seeing progression, and I think if you're being honest with yourselves, the only thing that was missing from his game at the beginning of the year was the offense. The defense has always been solid. The defense, more than solid. The defense has been, great all season, in my opinion. The offense was just lagging, and I think he just wasn't making shots. And I think now you're starting to see the defense is still where it has been all season, but you couple that with the shots falling. Now it's just not 3-point attempts. Now he's actually cutting. He's getting into the paint. He's finishing better at the rim. I just feel like, for me, I was very close to tweeting this. I want to say like right before Zach got injured. It might have been like the game after he was sat out. I can't remember when. I was so close to tweeting, like, there's something. So it's, to me, when I'm confident in something, like, I just do it. If I don't ask, hey, should I do this? Like, or not, like, if I'm confident, I know what I'm doing, and I know it's the right thing to do, I'm going to do it. And I think the times when you are not confident in something, you're kind of hesitant to do something. You don't know, I think a perfect example I want to bring up is this was earlier in the season. The ball was on the opposite wing. He was on the wing, and the ball swung, and he like half cut, and you could see he was like, wait, should I cut, or like, should I have stayed in my spot? And like, you could see him just kind of like, man, I don't know if I made the right cut, instead of just finishing your cut. And who knows, maybe if you're open, hopefully the person would pass to you. If not, you've created space, but now you're not seeing that second guessing. You're not seeing him, you're just not seeing the second guessing. And I think that I think when we started to see the emotion, everybody started talking, oh, that's the most emotion we've seen of Pat. That's, he's doing, he's yelling, he's, having all these different types of hand gestures and stuff now, like he's in the game. And I think that just, to me, that just shows the confidence, that shows that he feels himself. It's one thing for us to feel it, but it's another thing, I think, when he feels it himself, that he's starting to play better, and he's starting to feel some progression in his game. And I think it's just the game slowing down. The game is starting to slow down. I think it's finally starting to slow down for him a bit on the offensive end. I think the defense has always been ahead of the offense, but I do think the offense is starting to slow down for him in terms of the decisions that in his decision tree. You know, do I cut here? When I catch, do I have enough space to shoot it? If I do, I'm shooting it. If they go under the screen, I'm shooting it. If they come out hard, I'm driving by. Like the simple reads, he's starting to make more consistently now, whether he's on the ball or he's off the ball. And that's kind of the stuff, those types of things that we're seeing is making me more confident about his progression, and this not being something that's just him just not having shot luck, like him just, going crazy from behind the 3-point line or anything like. No, this is,
Yep.
You're just starting to see him make the right reads, and he's getting cuts, he's getting dunks, he's finishing at the rim. He's just doing the right things. He's playing basketball, and yeah, man, I'm happy to see it. I can't wait to see this team against the Bucks. See what goes on tomorrow. But yeah, man, I can get off the Patrick train here now.
I have to agree with you though that it's the game slowing down, and that's why I like this stretch. It's not about hot shooting. It's about Patrick not second guessing himself, as you said. Like against the Spurs the other night, like he went right at Sohan.
Yep.
And just like bullied him right out of the way and dropped in the layup. When he got that pass in transition, and he just went straight to the rim, Euro stepped it, and it was like late in the game. He just knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wasn't guessing, he wasn't slowing. And his pull-up shots, he wasn't taking the pull-up shots because he wasn't sure if he could get to the rim or not. He was just like confidently step right into it. And he's getting to the rim more. He tried to dunk. I tried to dunk on Zach.
Oh, yeah. Collins.
Zach Collins.
Yep.
He did dunk a couple other times on like nice back cuts. He had like a baseline cut for a reverse dunk off of an ATO, I think, early on in the game. Like it was the all around package that you wanted to see. He was taking 3-pointers. He was getting the rim. Yeah, just everything you wanted to see. And you've seen that more consistently. Now, part of it is you just get more opportunity when a guy like Zach is out. The oxygen in the room is no longer sucked out of it, right? Like there's oxygen there for you to breathe. So that's part of it. And it's not Zach's fault. It's just that's the way it goes, which is why you and I have been calling for him to get more opportunities, even if you have to manufacture those opportunities for him. He just needs more. He needs more time to gain that confidence, play through his mistakes. Because when you play through your mistakes, you start to learn what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you can do all the time, and what you need to work on. And so, if you're only taking 1 or 2 threes a game, or if you're only doing pick and roll once or twice a game, if you're only taking mid-range, no matter what, if you're doing it at such low frequency, you're never going to get comfortable in it. And it's never going to happen. So it's not that Patrick Williams needs to be a star and we need to put the ball in his hands all the time right now. I would still like that eventually for him to have more opportunities there. But if you're going to be a role player, like give him all the stuff that he can do over and over again as a role player. So, yeah.
One last thing, right?
Yeah.
About Patrick, just to go along with how well he's been playing defensively. He now leads the team in stocks. He's got 46 total stocks, steals, and blocks for anybody that doesn't know what a stock is. Caruso is right behind him with 42. So like that, to me, that just shows, for you to be leading, that when we have a guy by the name of Alex Caruso on the team, that shows a lot in terms of his activity level. So that says a lot to me.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And I feel like his on off has been really good too. This year, it just seems like the team plays better when he's out there. And especially with Caruso out, you're relying on guys like Ayo and Javon Carter to kind of pick up the slack on the defensive end. But as you said, we can, most of our lineups have 4, if not 5, really quality defenders out there. I mean, every one of our defensive guys is really good at steals. It's like really good. Just has a nose for the ball, deflecting the ball, getting steals, getting out in transition. So that's really helping. Yeah, so we've talked a lot about Patrick Williams, about the team in general, and kind of the offensive and defensive schemes changing a little bit. I want to talk about Kobe White because Kobe White is having a pretty hot shooting streak that is probably not sustainable. He's not going to keep shooting like this, but he has been doing all the all-around stuff that we've been talking about for years that we really saw start to show up last year on a consistent basis, especially the defensive end. But like the man is taking charges, he's snaking his way through the defense. I just love the way he's playing. He played like a floor general, like against the Pelicans. I think specifically, he controlled the whole game anytime he was on the floor, and that's something that usually takes, point guards or lead guards a couple years in the league to kind of get to that comfortability. It's year 5 for Kobe, and obviously he's not kind of like a natural point guard. He's more of a combo guard. But I really think that a lot of the early reps that he had as a point guard have helped his development as a combo guard now and in his current role, where he's just able to step into that kind of thing with confidence. And he's just making really good decisions out there for the most part. I love his defense. He still gets targeted sometimes on defense, but it's never an effort thing with him anymore. It's just a size thing, and you can live with that, right? You can live with that. But I just think he's been not only just a really quality player, but I think he's been a leader out there on the floor. He's been a vocal leader, and I think it has helped the team. I think it's helped Patrick Williams as well, specifically. So I wanted to see what with Kobe White that you've enjoyed the most, or has kind of stood out to you as unique, or as something that's kind of driven this 4-game win streak.
Yeah, I think Kobe. I think one of the things about him is, I think the leadership, the how vocal he is now, the body language, like that's a lot of me as a coach, I'm looking at all that stuff, it's on-court production in terms of like the counting stats and things like that matter, no doubt about it. But I think you can really tell where a player is in their mind state and how they where they are and their confidence in themselves and where they're at in their career. You could tell a lot by their body language. And I think with Kobe, you're seeing him now, talking about where the ball should go, really getting on guys here and there. I think you're starting to see him come into his own as a leader. So I don't think him having as well of a season. Like, I know you look at some of the advanced stats and it doesn't you look at the advanced stats, it doesn't really say, doesn't really tell the story, in my opinion, right now. And I just really feel like that has a lot to do with how this season started. But the biggest thing in terms of like on the court is the ball handling continues to just really pop, in terms of him being able to get into the paint. You like to see he's just getting downhill a lot more. And he's finally, I've been waiting for this to click. And I've always would say to myself, like, whenever this clicks for him, he's going to be a problem. And it's the ability to use his speed as a weapon. And I think now you're starting to see him come off a ball screen, kind of slow it up a little bit. Once that opening opens, boom, now you see the speed pop out. You're just seeing him being able to create for his team. And I think the cool, like you said, him being a combo, the cool thing about him is you can play him with Caruso, and now he can move off a ball, and now he already plays that role of catch and shoot or catch and attack, a closeout already well. Now he's added that ability to run some pick and roll and to get into the paint and to get to a mid-range pull-up or get to a side step pull-up, being able to get downhill and hit the drop-offs, or seeing him now come off a ball screen, create a rotation and skip to the opposite corner or opposite wing. Like you're starting to see him do a lot of these things. And honestly, I think another big thing for him, and he talked about it in the preseason about at the media day about what he really focused on. And he said he focused on being able to shoot off the dribble. And I think that you're really seeing that to me, it took a jump this year. You know, the way he's able to really shoot off the dribble now. And it's really helped him, I think, man. And Kobe is just in a good spot. And I know a lot of people like to pick on him on the defensive side, but like there aren't a lot of point guards that's going to be able to guard a switch, so it's he's always going to have his deficiencies because of what God gave him, but I think one of the things you're never going to be able to question about Kobe is that effort. He may be the smallest guy, he may not have the arm length, the smallest guy in terms of when he gets to switch. But he's going to give you full effort. He's going to try his hardest, and he's going to, like you said, slides over, he'll get a charge. I think there was a play I was watching against the Hornets, where you could really tell his core strength, and his strength is, it's there. I think it was Miles Bridges, that drove. No, Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller drove and tried to lower his shoulder on Kobe, and it was like he hit a wall. I'm like, man, okay, they're like, it's something that just popped off the screen when you're watching. You're like, well, dang, Kobe didn't even move. Like, he just shows you how strong he is now. Like, he really has been working on his body. My question is to you, Kris, is does your thoughts on this team change a little bit? Not only if this team continues to win, like obviously not, winning, 10, 11 games in a row or anything like that, but if they're winning more than they're losing, and it's because of the young guys, right? Like the Spurs, like much of this streak, does it change your mindset in terms of the direction of this team? And what I mean by that is, do you think I brought it up in my Twitter voice memo? But like the Bulls, you wanted that top pick, and then they had Kilpatrick or Kirkpatrick. I can't remember his last name. I think it's Kilpatrick. And he was like going crazy, and it kind of ultimately ended up where the Bulls didn't get the highest pick they can get. Right? Is it different to you if that were to happen, that same thing, but like Kobe and Pat, like, are the reasons why they get to a play-in? Does that change that for you?
I think for me, it's never been necessarily about you got to get this specific pick. It's more of the principles behind successful team building. So if the Bulls are prioritizing the development of their young guys, and they end up winning more as a result of that, and they get a little bit of a higher draft pick this year, I'm fine with that, because number one, this is kind of a weaker draft in the last few years, but I just think that's the right way to go about it. What the Bulls didn't do last time is they didn't really develop their guys. They just kind of floundered and sucked just because. And to me, that's really the issue that you run into here. I don't mind having nice veterans around if they are helping amplify the young guys. But the focus needs to be on their development. And I think early on, when Billy Donovan first got here, and AK and Mark Eversley first got here, I thought the focus was on their development for those first 3 or 4 months of that season. And I loved it. And they weren't winning as much as we wanted, but they weren't that far off. And I just think that they jumped the gun by, doing the Vooch trade and everything else that's come since. So I would love to have them finally do it the right way. Now, if you're gonna, there are certain strategies that have to happen. But it's natural for you to lose more if you're just focusing on those young guys. And if the young guys end up being so good that you get a lower draft pick, I mean, that's good too. It's like, okay, good, because now your players are better. Now the players that are in your development system are improving enough that you're winning games. The whole point is to accumulate assets to either draft a superstar player or to acquire a superstar player. And there's no one way to do it necessarily, but there's been a couple ways we've seen it. We've seen kind of like the Nets model, for example, where they became a really good team and then they were able to acquire Kyrie and KD in free agency off of that because they attracted stars to their market because they were a good team that was winning without like kind of the usual pieces. And then there's other ways to do it, like, there's just a straight tanking model, right, where you just get the highest possible draft picks, but you got to develop those players, right? If you don't develop them, then you end up in this endless cycle of suck, like Detroit's in right now, where they're not doing anything that's conducive to their players really taking those leaps in development, and they're kind of stuck on that treadmill. So you don't necessarily have to suck, specifically to suck. It's usually a natural consequence of you developing young guys, right? That's just kind of the way it goes. But you have to, if you're going to suck, have it be because you are investing in that development. That to me is the way. So if the Bulls trade Zach LaVine or trade DeMar or Vooch and Caruso and grab some assets to kind of restock and replenish the cupboard here, I would love that. And they end up picking 10th or 13th or something in this draft. That's fine, because now it's like, hey, this is a team. We're going to add another first round pick, and we've got these other assets on the board here that we can use to bolster it later. I think one of the ways I would love the Bulls to do it is kind of to get good, to get in the middle, and then have the chips to be able to take a leap from there, rather than what they did here, which was they took a leap from the bottom to get to the middle. So that's really the issue. And I know that's kind of a long-winded answer, but like I really think that it doesn't change my perspective. My perspective has always kind of been the same. It's just a matter of how are the Bulls going to get to that, and it has to be. I don't mind them to see how the team looks without Zach. I know, and I want to clarify, because it was 2 weeks ago, I think I said how ridiculous it was that the Bulls thought, hey, let's take the wheels off this car and see if the car can go faster.
Yeah.
I don't think the team is going to be better ultimately without Zach LaVine on it. But if you can turn Zach LaVine into assets and develop the young guys, that may be better for your overall future than it is now. So that's the distinction there that I wanted to make. But yeah, and personally, if they kept doing what they're doing right now, where we're seeing growth from Patrick and Io and Kobe and Julian Phillips minutes and things like that, like I'm all on board for that. And Dalen Terry right now is like putting up big numbers in the G League. That's what he needs. Like, focus and invest in that development. And I think the Bulls are going to be in a much better position at the end of the year than they will if they're just doing the continuity thing just for the sake of continuity.
Yeah, I agree. And I just, I came into this, once the team was like down in the dumps at the beginning of the year, I was just trying to find a way to, what can I get out of this season, as a fan, someone that watches the team a ton. So I definitely was just trying to figure out, like, what can we take out of this season? Like, what are the the Bulls going to do to get something out of the season? And I think, in a way, as bad as it sounds, I don't want to make it seem like I want anybody injured, but in a way, it almost is like a blessing in disguise, where the young guy, not only, they always say, like, you got to be ready when your opportunity comes. You can't fumble the bag once you get the opportunity. And I think the young guys are kind of taking charge of it. It's almost like they've been waiting for it. And I think hopefully it's giving the front office some optimism that, okay, wait, hold on, let's see how the rest of these games go. But I think we were right with our draft pick. I think we did pick the right guy. Maybe it was on us that we should have, allowed them to grow more. But Yeah, man, that's what I was thinking. So my next question is to you. With this schedule coming up, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Did you have that schedule on hand? I looked it up, but I've lost it in my tabs here.
Yeah. For this next week, we got the at Bucks tomorrow,
Yep.
and then home on Tuesday against the Nuggets. So back to back against the Bucks and the Nuggets. That's gonna be a big test.
Yep.
And then you have 2 games against the Heat, both at Heat Thursday and Saturday. And then next Monday, Bulls at 76ers. And then the rest of December is not much better. It's Lakers, Spurs, Cavs, Hawks, Pacers, Sixers. Now those are all Bulls home games, so it's a 6-game homestand. But yeah, this next week and a half is going to be a really, really big test. And I do not personally expect the Bulls to be continuing this winning streak much longer. It would be really funny to beat the Bucks tomorrow because they're kind of also in their own internal turmoil right now.
Yep.
It'd be nice and fun. And the Nuggets actually have been kind of iffy of late. Like Jokic just had a couple bad games in a row, but yeah, I don't expect the Bulls to continue their winning ways necessarily, but I do think that the effort and execution, I think that we can expect to continue, or we should at least hope for that kind of effort and energy to continue. Also, I wanted to give you one last Patrick Williams stat. Patrick Williams is the only Bulls player this season to have a positive net rating when he's on the court on the entire team. The Bulls with Patrick Williams on the court are plus 1.35. With Patrick Williams off the court is negative 10.76, right? This is play-by-play-stats.com. No other player on the team even has a positive net rating when they're on the court. Not even Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso is like a negative 2 point something. Let's see. Alex Caruso is negative 2.61. So I'm just saying the Bulls statistically and by the eye test have been better this season with Patrick Williams on the court. Anyways, I just wanted to throw that in there in case we didn't get enough Patrick Williams love this week.
Yeah, I mean, again, man, if you're watching the game, how you're supposed to watch the game and not, taking anything else out of it, he has. I mean, he straight up has.
Cold shooting start notwithstanding.
Yeah.
No
All
right, I got a question for you, Larro.
What's up?
If you're AK, what are you doing by the trade deadline on this team? Like, what are you doing personnel wise? And you don't have to give me like specific people you're trading for.
Yeah.
But what type of players would you be looking to bring in if you are making roster moves?
Well, I think you got to start planning for the future in terms of that next big. So maybe he doesn't have to be like just drafted a couple years ago, but 23, 24, somewhere around there, where you can kind of get him into your system, and whenever Vooch is done, you already have your kind of contingency plan. But also, so I would say like a rim protection big, maybe if you can find a big that can play out of the pocket a little bit.
I got one for you. Isaiah Hartenstein.
Okay.
He's only 20. He's only 25, but he does a little bit of everything. He's a pretty good passer. Anyways, he's playing on the Knicks as a backup, and he's doing well. But I think, anyways, I just like him. His usage is super down, but yeah, I just think he can do a little bit of everything.
I like him too, man. I think as for something else, I would say to me, you can't have enough wings in terms of with size where you can have them on the floor. The one other thing, if you can get like a Jaden Ivey, if you can get a young guard, and maybe not even young, not super young, but someone with experience that can come in and can play on the ball, off the ball, That would be something I'd be looking for. And I think out of the draft, if even if the Bulls don't end up in the lottery, if they're just outside of the lottery. I do think no, it's just they should probably be in the lottery. But if there are
Let's be
some point
real.
guard prospects in this draft that are interesting, some that you can bring in and like an AJ Mitchell, obviously Isaiah Collier. There are some point guard prospects that you can bring in. Um, there are, there's some bigs in the draft as well that you can, talk about bringing in. So I mean, there's some things that you can do, but I think in the trade deadline, I'd be looking for draft compensation, uh, either a young big or a young guard, or a young wing, someone somewhere around there. Um, I think I'd be looking for.
Yeah, I think you're right. We got to be looking to the future. Really good teams need three things. They need, well, yeah, they need maybe four things. Actually, teams need a lot of things, but you need a table setter. You have to have a primary creator that's really, really good. Second, you have to have rim protection. Got to have it. Third, you need shooting, and and then fourth, I would say you need uh, versatile defenders, usually wings, right? Now, I
Yeah,
think I love the minutes with both Torrey Craig and Patrick Williams out there. I think it gives the Bulls just a major advantage on defense, just to have that kind of size and versatility. I don't know, and the stats back it up with Torrey Craig and Patrick Williams on the floor. Bulls are plus 4.1, and they're minus 17 with both of them off the floor. I just think those two guys together give you some shooting, some defense. You don't necessarily want to see Torrey put the ball on the floor too much, based on what we've seen so far, but I think Patrick can a little bit more. Yeah, but I would look another big I would look at is Ivica Zubac. He's been a phenomenal rim protector this year. He's still only 26, so he's definitely got some years ahead of him if the Bulls want to kind of take a more of a Pacers route to rebuilding. But yeah, they really need a primary point guard or a table setter, whatever you want to call it. That's been their biggest need since Derrick Rose left, and we haven't really found one. So DeMar's probably been their best nominal point guard, but a lot needs to happen. I agree with you. I think if you could bring in someone with high upside, I think Jaden Ivey is someone I would definitely be looking at. There's guys around the league that have struggled. I mean, I wouldn't even mind bringing in as a throw into like a salary filler in a trade, like a James Wiseman or a Marvin Bagley, or just some guy that kind of needs another shot, just some more development. And if the Bulls are kind of going down that development path, we've got time and opportunity for them. So I don't know if Wiseman will ever pan out, but like he went second in the draft, and he's got a lot of skills. It's just he was on a team that didn't really have time to develop him, and now he's on the Pistons where they have like 15 centers. So it's tough, but yeah, it's hard to find a specific suitor. But I know guys are interested. I know teams are interested in DeMar. They're interested in Alex Caruso. Now, I think it would be, as much as I love Caruso, a huge mistake not to trade Alex Caruso if you get anywhere north of 1 first-round pick and a great young prospect, or 2 first-round picks, or anything kind of in that realm. I think you could. If you could get like Moses Moody or Brandon Pods from the Warriors, or even Kuminga, and a first-round pick, or if you could get like Max Christie and a first-round pick from the Lakers or something like that, like those are the types of things you got to really be looking at, where you find a nice prospect and a pick. Because what the Bulls should be thinking about right now is who on our roster could be potentially on the next great Bulls team. And if the answer is no to a player, that player needs to be moved 100%. The only potential exception to that would be Vooch, not because he is going to be part of the next Great Bulls team, but because I'm not sure where you could find a landing spot. But if you can find a landing spot for him and bring in, the quote unquote center of the future, or someone that projects to potentially be that, I would move Vooch. But keeping Vooch or DeMar or Zach, I don't mind. I just don't think you can do all three or even maybe two of them. I just think you got to move. You got to move those guys. If you want to be a functional offense and have DeMar or Vooch kind of still be, that guy on offense, I think you're going to have enough there that you're not going to be hindering the development of the young guys. But obviously, we've seen that those three together have just sucked all the oxygen out of the room, and it's been really difficult for the other guys to really succeed. So, long-winded answer, but I would love to see at least two, if not three, of those guys moved, and Alex Caruso at minimum by the trade deadline. You got to do it. Just got to do it.
Yeah. I think one other thing that they need to start prioritizing is, and I think they were on the right, like they had the right mindset when they added like a Matt Thomas that one year. But you need to start bringing in guys that bring some shooting versatility, some, being able to fly off a screen and get a shot up. Someone that, like, you need to start having some, not only guys that can catch and shoot, but guys that can do a multitude of types of shooting. So, no matter, and I know Doug McDermott is tough defensively, but like guys like that, that type of shooting, so hopefully at some point they start to do that, because you just want to add more layers to what you can do to a team, and having somebody like that can really stress a team out. So hopefully that's something they start to prioritize.
So given the upcoming schedule and given the plans, what do you hope the Bulls do in the next week? Like, what do you want the Bulls to show you this week against these top quality teams?
Well, I said it before they went on the win streak, but for me, this season is still going to be about, no matter, this team could be 5 and whatever right now, and I would still have the same mindset in terms of, all I care about is what the young guys are doing. So I would like to see the young guys continue to build on what they've been doing. Continue to play aggressive, continue to take the shots when you have them. Specifically with Kobe, continue to do this, keep doing the same things you've been doing. Shoot the ball. We need you to shoot the ball. Keep shooting that thing. Continue to get into the teeth of the defense. Now, the one thing about the Bucks is they don't guard that well. So you'll be able to get points up. So let's see how well you can defend. Can you continue to defend? And you may not have Caruso tomorrow. So let's see how you defend. And specifically for Pat is just continue to build, man. One thing that I liked about Pat is he had that 8-point game after he went 6 for 6 for double digits in points, and then he came back the very next game. You're thinking, well, maybe he'll go back. Nope, he came back out to score. He scored a 20-piece. So it's like, I just want to see the young guys, specifically Pat, because we already know, like Kobe. I don't want to put a ceiling on Kobe, but like, I don't know if there's much higher ceiling that he has than the way he's playing right now. But for Pat, like, I don't care what anybody says. There's still, I think that there is a ceiling. He hasn't hit his ceiling yet, and I think, who knows? He may not hit it, but I think if he continues on this path, who knows? So I just want to see him continue to stay aggressive, take advantage of when he gets his opportunities with the ball, and let's see where it goes. Keep playing that tough defense he does when he sees Giannis. And we'll see where it all goes. But like I said, record wise, I don't know where they'll be, but I just want to see the young guys continue to build, man. That's all I really care about.
Yeah, I think that's been my focus for the season as well as it has been for you, especially after that really kind of just terrible start.
Yeah.
because there wasn't a whole lot to look forward to. But I've loved way Kobe and Pat have played, and I do want to shout out Io as well.
Yeah.
Io in many ways has kind of been like a mini Caruso
Yeah.
in the way that he's been defending and the ball handling and just the transition. And he's shooting kind of in between what he was doing his first year and second year. He's shooting about 35% from three right now. But I just love the way that he plays the game. And I think he has a chance just to be a really quality kind of backup guard right now. Neither you or I try to put ceilings on players, but
Right.
I just like the way Io comes in and he kind of replicates a lot of what Caruso does. Now, Caruso is just kind of a genius level defender, but
Yeah.
I think Io has a lot of the same kind of aptitude. He's really, really good at navigating screens. He's long. He's quick. Like he stonewalls people. Man, it's been really fun to watch Pat stonewall a couple dudes. Like he stonewalled Zion on the drive or two when they faced the Pelicans. And then we're talking about Pat again, sorry. But yeah, it's been really fun to watch the defense of these Bulls. And Billy can coach up a defense for sure. And it's nice to see what he's been able to do, or what the Bulls have been able to do with a little bit different looking personnel this week. So hope Caruso gets back to form, but also, man, I just need that guy to stop getting injured. Every
Yeah.
time he comes back, he like tweaks a toe or an ankle or shoulder or something. He's always got. He looks like, you know, that famous Kobe picture where Kobe's got like ice packs on every single part of his body. That feels like Caruso every week. I just want that man to get some rest. So you know, if he's out a week or two, that's fine. He probably needs it. And we need the assets that he's going to bring back as well. It's been such a joy to have Caruso around, and it sucks if he does get traded. It will suck, but yeah, he really needs to be shining on a bigger stage than the Bulls, I really think. And I think the Bulls are in a position where they can get back some really good stuff for him. So that's what they should do. And so they probably won't do it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this week. Yeah, I'm not expecting a lot of wins, but I'm hoping we can just continue to see growth from the young guys, as you said. And any parting words? I think we've kind of gone through this last week pretty well, and looking forward to this upcoming week. Anything to promote? Are you going to write that Kobe article at some point? I'm waiting on it.
Yeah, I'm really just behind on that. It will get done for sure. But parting words, just ride the roller coaster, baby. You know, hopefully it does. There's no, super, deep dives, but let's just see where this thing goes, man. Who knows? Let's see what the young guys continue to do, man. Because the one thing that's really cool about this whole little run here, it is, it has been kind of spearheaded by the young guys. So, they've been playing well, and let's see them continue to do it. This is something that honestly, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, at least for me, like I wanted to see the young guys get more touches, because at the end of the day, we know what the big three is. We know who they are. We know what they are together. It's not good. So we've always been asking about, hey, let's get the young guys more touches, because we need to find out what they are. And are they going to continue to ascend? Are they just going to plateau and this just is who they are? Or is there more? Is there more to it? I want to continue to figure it out. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
100%. I agree with you, and it would be really nice to see what these guys look like with a really, really great creator setting them up. I mean, just seeing even like Derek Jones Jr. has been able to do in Dallas so far this year, just next to Luca. It just those kind of guys, or the Tyrese Halliburton, how he's propping up his teammates so well. I would love to see these young guys with like a really genius level creator next to them. I think they would just all look better. But yeah, that right now the focus has got to continue to be the young guys, and I love that they've been spearheading this improved play. So let's hope to see more of it. Thanks for sticking with us. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please rate, review us, give us 5 stars if you could. Let your friends know. And we don't have any ads. We're not doing this for money. We just like it. But if you like our Bulls analysis, let other people know so they can enjoy it, and we can enjoy this basketball game together. So thanks again. We'll see you guys next week, and peace.
Peace.